Yeah, Bill told me the number that I had was right. I then added that to the total number of games, which would mean he would have coached over 1,000
So what is the correct answer so we can put this to bed?
383.
So if Nick Saban loses the next 383 games consecutively, which would take how many years?
383 if we just go with a 12-game season.
Well, yeah, because they ain't playing in a bowl game if they're going 0-12 every year.
Basically, almost 32 full seasons, 31.9.
And
so maybe he wins the Iron Bowl and ends the losing streak.
So he would be, because he's 69, right? Or he's coming up on 69?
Yes. So he'd be over 100, well over 100 years old. Well over 100 years old.
Nick, it's a record worth trying for. I'm serious.
It'd be impressive. I mean,
it'd be very impressive.
How many?
If anything, you can coach. You don't have
fake football team.
Yeah, you don't have to coach Alabama. You can coach the fake football team, Bishop Sycamore.
Mm-hmm.
You could take over that program, lose every game, because. And I know you're saying, well, wait a minute, that's a high school team. Well, actually, it's not.
Nah, there's adults. Who knows what type of team it really is.
So we can count it against your record.
Here's my question for you. How many games in a row would Saban lose before they fire him? If they went 0-12 this year, would he still be at Alabama?
Man, is that a what if?
if Nick Saban and Alabama went 0-12 this year, he would still have a job next year, right? And there's no controversy off the field. It's just all bad. Bad play for whatever reason.
They're pretty crazy down there.
I know they are, but he just won the the title.
I know, winningest coach of all time. Great,
just won the title. Yeah, I bet he makes it to one more year. Now, if he went 0-12 for 2 years in a row, so he's 0-24, then he gets the axe. Saban's lost it, pal.
Would that be one of the greatest failure stories in the history of American sports? I mean, is there anything that would even replicate that, to go from being what many people believe is universally the greatest coach in history? Mm-hmm. There are a lot of folks, we're watching Baez come to bat, and look, the Yankee or the Met fans are booing. Cool. But would there be any better, and I say better, but because we've seen some spectacular failures in the history of sports.
Mm-hmm.
But for Nick Saban to go from being universally regarded as the greatest coach ever, not the greatest coach today, but the greatest coach ever, to going over his next 24 and being fired?
That'd be pretty crazy. He'd still be considered the best coach of all time. We just wonder what the hell happened at the very end.
But even for guys like Lombardi, for example. You know, Lombardi retired from the Packers and realized this front office shtick isn't good for me, so he went to Washington.
Yep.
And he immediately turned a bad franchise. I mean, they were only 8-6 or whatever they were in their first year before he got cancer. But everyone was convinced, the dude's a miracle worker.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he left him on, even though he left not being in the playoffs, not winning a Super Bowl, he still left on a high note, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Bowden, the last few years weren't great. But that
didn't came up when he passed away a month ago or whatever it was.
No.
Nobody brought that up. Yeah, but remember the last few years, it was all about the 90s. The 80s into the 90s.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Amazing Daniel says he'd get fired halfway through the second season. So he says he'd get to 0-18 before he lost the job.
I want to see this happen just because my morbid curiosity says so. By the way, Met fans are now applauding every time Baez swings and misses.
Man!
These people are butthurt beyond belief.
This is what?
I mean, that's your guy.
I hope he hits a home run. Please hit a home run. It sucks that it would. I mean, it'd make the game closer. Hit a home run, Javi.
Ooh, he ripped that one pretty hard. It's 5-1.
Do you
Miami
think that they can
Mets.
keep? I mean, what happens with these guys moving forward?
Well, Lindor is fine because they got him from Cleveland. I mean, he's the future.
Mm-hmm.
Baez is a free agent. There ain't no way Baez is coming back to New York next year. Mm-hmm. No way.
But you think Lindor is
Oh, Lindor's fine.
I'm saying you think the fans would get past all
Baez
this
is going to
stuff?
be the guy that takes most of the heat.
Yeah.
Because he's the newbie. He's the guy that they traded for that was supposed to be, a difference maker. And, of course, it's nothing has happened.
And the
Mets continue to lose? They're falling further and further out of contention.
Was it over the weekend or last week where he swung out so far ahead of that pitch? Did you see that strike that he had?
Which weekend?
I think it was this. I remember seeing the video.
It was actually a joke, as if to say it happens every weekend. Trust me, I watch the guy.
It was so bad. It was one of the worst swings I've ever seen. Just so bad.
Well, that's what he does.
Yeah. Well, they're throwing at him, and the Mets fans probably love it.
Oh, did he get hit? He did. And now...
Hey, they're applauding him.
That's all right.
Look at the Mets fans. They're so nice.
This is why the Mets are the Mets, folks.
Awesome. One more month left of this stuff.
Well, we're going to need something to watch. I mean,
Hey, I got football, man.
I know, but...
it starts tomorrow. There's a game tomorrow night.
I saw that. By the way, that reminds me, a new season of Fired Up for Football. We used to do this...
in July.
It
was our July.
To get you ready for the season, but...
It was busy, and then we were on vacation.
Yeah, there were NCAA investigations. Mm-hmm. People were getting fired. Other people were getting hired. Mm-hmm. It was a very busy offseason. Maybe our busiest offseason we've ever had. Because it always seemed like, Texas and Oklahoma said,
That's right, yeah, we had conference realignment.
I mean, a lot of stuff came up. About the only thing we didn't talk about were satellite cams.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to the normal Fired Up for Football, but we thought, you know what? We'll do Fired Up for Football every week before the game. Mm-hmm. And preview the week's
Which is more fun anyway, because we'll just get excited for the upcoming weekend of football.
And we're not looking ahead like a month and a half.
You know what it is, too? It's us helping the listeners kind of figure out the good games.
Yes.
Hey, here's what, because maybe they don't go to that website that we love, the LSU website.
And now... you're going to need to know what's on this weekend, because if you had plans to go to the game this weekend and you hadn't had your tickets yet, they're gone.
They're gone.
They're all gone.
I mean, they're still on the secondary ticket market, but the ones from the university are gone indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you got to find something to do. Mm-hmm. So we'll have that for you coming up later on. Also, a little more on Nebraska's inability in the run game on Saturday. And what they're going to have to try to do moving forward. Yes, there is still a season. I know that yesterday was a big picture day. It still feels kind of like a big picture day. There's more reaction across the country about what Frost did or didn't do, what he may or may not happen to him. So there's plenty of time for the big picture, but maybe to narrow it down just a little bit, because there are still 11 games left in the season.
There are.
And
there are.
In using Frost's own words, I still believe we can have a special season. Well, if that's going to happen...
You're saying that?
No. Frost said that.
Okay.
I'm quoting him.
Yeah.
If that's going to happen, they got to figure this running game thing out.
Mm-hmm.
How do they do that? We can address that a little bit later on as well.
Before Brunts, Amazing Daniel says, Tom Landry might be a candidate, going back to the idea of Saban suddenly just falling apart. 20 years of winning seasons and Super Bowls, ending with 3 sub-500 years, missing the playoffs, fired.
But
people chalk that up more to like Jerry Jones.
Well, he definitely got fired because of the ownership. But and listen, in the moment, it seemed like a cold, callous thing to do. But history justified Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
As dumb as Jerry Jones has been at times.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones did a lot of great things in the beginning. And that was a bandage that needed to be ripped off, because the Cowboys were floundering.
Mm-hmm.
And let's face it, Landry had been at it for a very long time. It's hard to tell a legend to go. People don't get to go out like Tom Osborne every year, And Landry was sliding. But no one was at the impression Landry was not at the top of his game in 1985.
Yeah.
To most people's estimation. The reason why there was so much upset folks about it was just because he was such a gentleman, and he was, and he was a great coach.
I got one more for you, and I know you never thought he was very good, but Mac Brown played or coached in the national championship game. He had already won a national championship. He had like tons of years where he was winning near 10 games. And then it was like 3 bad ones in a row, and he was gone.
Right.
That happened fast.
It did. But again, we're talking about Nick Saban literally losing 18 games in a row or 24 games in a row. It would be an amazing story, and a lot of people would enjoy it, especially in Auburn, Oxford, College Station, Athens. Lincoln, Omaha, Des Moines, Grand Island. Coming up next, Michael Bruntz. Get his thoughts on what he saw and what is to come. It's Fordham Week, friends. Guns N' Hoses coming up on Saturday, September the 11th. It's a 7 o'clock bell time at Ralston Arena. It's put on by the police officers and the Professional Firefighters Associations of Omaha, and the event is to raise funds for local charities. Guns N' Hoses, Saturday, September 11th, 7 o'clock, Ralston Arena.